Celebrity involvement in pro wrestling can be a masterstroke when done correctly. Cyndi Lauper opposing Captain Lou to kickstart Rockin' Wrestling? Brilliant! Mike Tyson going toe-to-toe with Stone Cold? Incredible! Bob Barker turning an episode of Raw into a makeshift Price is Right? Tremendous! Of course, not every collision of galaxies has been as fun or as fruitful as these aforementioned examples. In fact, the mixing of celebrities and wrestlers in the general ringside area potential to be disastrous if not handled with the proper care. Stars of screen, song, and stadium haven't always livened up the wrestling show. In fact, some have done the precise opposite. I'm Sam Driver from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 embarrassing celebrity wrestling moments. Join us! Number 10. Mafia hits and misses. We may as well affix an asterisk to this one, because calling Jenna Maraska a celebrity is stretching things thinner than a Rizzler. Maraska had been a winning contestant on reality series Survivor in the early 2000s and was hardly a red-hot name when TNA brought her on board in 2009. She was revealed to be the financial backer of the villainous main event Mafia, using her Survivor winnings, and was frequently seen at odds with mafioso Booker T's wife Charmel. Had it ended there, Maraska might be a mere footnote in wrestling history. But no, she had to wrestle. And we're using very heavy quotation marks here because Maraska's match with Charmel at the 2009 Victory Road was an abomination in every single facet. The reality starlet played dead upon being tripped up from ringside for ages and threw strikes at half the speed of a game of patty cake. Plainly put, Maraska had no business working a match. Though you can't really blame her. Blame the company that pushed her as a celebrity and then as a celebrity wrestler. Number 9. The art of calling wrestling. For old-time football fans, Art Donovan was quite a character. An imposing defensive lineman for the then Baltimore Colts, Donovan enjoyed post-retirement fame on the talk show and speaking circuit, sharing humorous and good-natured anecdotes about his career and the wild men he played alongside. Now, none of this seems to have any connections to pro wrestling, but that sure didn't stop the WWF from inviting Donovan to broadcast on the 1994 King of the Ring in Baltimore. From the jump, poor Art was out of his element. Gorilla Monsoon and Randy Savage did all they could to incorporate him on the call before Monsoon eventually just openly began ignoring the gridiron great. Clueless Donovan kept asking inane questions like how much this guy weighed and inadvertently buried the product by not knowing the names of the supposedly big-time superstars. At the Open, Donovan woodenly predicted that Razor Ramon would win the tournament. And then when Razor appeared for his match, Donovan pensively asked, "This the guy I picked, right?" Oh, Art. Number 8. Hey, I warned you. When hyping up a mystery man, the general rule of thumb is to have somebody that's worth the intrigue. Creepy vignettes, unmasking, lights off, lights on reveals. Whatever it is, the unveiling had better be good. Well, TNA learned this lesson the hard way during a crummy 2013 angle. In fact, the date of the angle was August 1st. This is easy to remember because the angle went down in infamy as the August 1st warning. Throughout Impact, several videos played in which a shadowy figure spoke behind all sorts of distorted overlapping effects, dropping unhelpful cues like that he could beat Dave Bautista up. Throughout the night, the supposed suspense built up until the grand reveal. The shrouded individual was former UFC star Tito Ortiz, who stared down forthcoming Bellator opponent Rampage Jackson, now a main event Mafia member, from the entrance ramp. The reveal was met with complete and utter silence from the crowd, who gave zero damns about any TNA Bellator synergy. Worse still, the fight ended up being cancelled due to Ortiz suffering an injury. Number 7. God of Blunder. Polarizing as they may be, there's no doubt that Kiss is one of the most famous musical acts of all time, on account of their image, merchandising, showmanship, merchandising, lore, and prestige. Wait, that last one should say merchandising. My bad. But yes, Kiss is a huge deal. So much so that a desperate Eric Bischoff collaborated with the group on a tie-in wrestler called The Demon to debut in the summer of 1999. That is its own story. As for the reveal itself, The Demon's debut was slated for the end of a live Kiss performance on Nitro. The aging band played God of Thunder, heralding the reveal of said demon. The only problem was, the 18 to 34 demo who watched wrestling and preferred Godsmack and Limp Bizkit to 50-year-old Gene Simmons tuned out of Nitro in droves, leaving the show with its lowest viewership in years. Worse still, Kiss's performance aired at the same time Triple H won his first WWF title. Nitro got slaughtered in the ratings as WCW took the love gun and shot itself in the foot. Number 6, Jaywalking Hulk. Hulk Hogan's done many angles with celebrities that at least looked like they might belong inside the ring. Mr. T, Dennis Rodman, and Karl Malone all showed varying degrees of pro wrestling acumen, and while none of them were smooth, they didn't look like total pushovers either. In fact, Hogan's match involving Rodman and Malone did big business at the 1998 Bash at the Beach, but the following month, Hogan took part in another celebrity match involving Jay Leno. The non-imposing host of The Tonight Show was roped into a WCW match after Eric Bischoff lampooned Leno's shtick in a number of god-awful, audience-repelling TV segments. It did manage to score some mainstream publication when Leno and DDP stood up to Hogan and his Bish on one Tonight Show broadcast. But as for the showdown, the two sides squared off at the Road Wild pay-per-view, where Hogan had to sell arm twists from Leno as though he were at the mercy of a true Leviathan. I can't seem to work out why, but Road Wild only did 60% of Bash's buy rate. Number 5, just the facts, ma'am. In December 2024, Saturday Night's Main Event returned to NBC after a 16-year absence. The last time the program ran was in August of 2008, and it was a dismal affair. While the matches were certainly lackluster, it was the involvement of actress, model, and former MTV hostess Jenny McCarthy that gives the show an extra tinge of ignominy. That's because McCarthy's appearance was in conjunction with her work with Generation Rescue. For those who don't know what Generation Rescue was, it was an advocacy group that promoted the disproven view that vaccines can cause autism. McCarthy's young son had been diagnosed with autism a few years earlier, leading her to become the face of an organization that irresponsibly encouraged parents to not vaccinate their children. McCarthy's cause was promoted throughout the WWE broadcast, while celebrities like Jeff Foxworthy, Carmen Electra, and Ben Stiller spoke in vignettes, misguidedly supporting the effort. Having a dangerous, scientifically inadvisable campaign be the unifying theme of a Saturday Night's Main Event broadcast was not WWE's finest hour. Number 4, eating dots, not pins. In February 2007, Tennessee Titans defensive back Adam Pac-Man Jones was involved in a series of horrid incidents in Las Vegas. In the span of several minutes, Jones allegedly assaulted a stripper, threatened a security guard who intervened, and was present when a member of his entourage fired a gun into a crowd, wounding 3 and paralyzing one of them. Jones was thereafter suspended for the entire 2007 NFL season. You'd think, given the heinousness of everything, Jones would have been shunned by the general media. Of course, TNA existed a few notches below general media at the time, so they figured they could score some notoriety by putting the inactive Pac-Man inside the ring. They signed Jones before they realized his NFL contract prohibited him from taking part in wrestling matches, but TNA motored on anyway by putting Jones in tag matches with Ron Killings, where he made little to no physical contact with anybody. Well, except for the time he got to pin Sting to become tag team champion, and they say WWE treated Sting worse than any other promotion. Number 3, part man, part machine, all flop. Hey, speaking of Sting, you kinda have to feel for WCW. Throughout the 80s, the WWF proved adept at celebrity link-ups, while the best WCW could really do were the Oak Ridge Boys and Wayne from the Wonder Years. They're not exactly stars that dominate the headlines on Entertainment Tonight, you know. But in 1990, it seemed like WCW had scored the star-crossed connection they were looking for when they landed the star of a major motion picture. None other than Robocop. Now, this again is technically a cheat since actor Peter Weller wasn't in the costume at the time of the calamity, but Robocop himself is technically a celebrity, so we'll roll with it. And how can you not include an angle where Sting gets trapped inside a cage by those dastardly 4 horsemen, only to be rescued by the future of law enforcement himself? Robocop pried open the bars to the cage, freeing Sting, while the horsemen, they just kind of wandered off, bored out of their skulls. And if you ever watch the angle, I mean, it's great and everything, we all love it, it's really funny, but you will be bored too. Number 2, shrug it out, bitches. Really, you could do a whole list on worst Raw guest hosts, which would include everybody that wasn't a wrestler, or Bob Barker, or Shaquille O'Neal. From outfielder Johnny Damon's spaced out rambling to the fake Three Stooges collectively pissing on Curly's grave to well-meaning Moonlander Buzz Aldrin's interminable speech, Raw wasn't an easy watch at the turn of the 2010s. And if you didn't feel stupid enough, actor Jeremy Piven was gonna make you feel dumber. Piven hosted a 2009 Raw alongside Ken Jeong, the latter of whom's actually a wrestling fan. Piven, however, holds no such obvious affinity for pro graps, as evidenced by his lazy, disinterested delivery and the fact that he called SummerSlam SummerFest. Piven and Jeong were on hand to promote a thoroughly mediocre comedy called The Goods, and Entourage's Ari Gold totally dragged ass through all of his segments. Considering his tone and attitude, it's a wonder Piven didn't just look at the crowd and say, "You all know this is fake, right?" And number 1, scream for your champion. There really could be no other number 1, could there? With all due respect to David Arquette, who's a huge wrestling fan and a pretty likable guy, his place in pro wrestling notoriety was etched as soon as the dust settled that fateful night in 2000. It really doesn't matter how fascinating his unlikely indie run was in the 2010s or how benevolent he's been to the families of fallen wrestlers. Wrestling fans will always remember Officer Dewey Riley for one of WCW's biggest debacles ever. While promoting Ready to Rumble, Arquette made several WCW appearances alongside New World Champion Diamond Dallas Page. This was all fine until Arquette teamed with Page to face Jeff Jarrett and Eric Bischoff in a match where whoever scored the winning fall would win the belt. And wouldn't you know it, 125-pound Arquette managed to pin Bischoff to win Page's belt, prompting much laughter and even more promotional obituary writing. Really, when it comes to embarrassing celebrity wrestling moments, nothing can top a Hollywood actor, especially a rail-thin one, winning a Big 2 world title.